It's 8:41. He's a candidate for the U.S. Senate trying to unseat Claire McCaskill. He's a businessman out of St. Louis. We welcome to the live line now, John Bruner. Hi, John.
Hey, good morning.
How's it going?
Incredible. Doing great and ready for another week on the campaign trail.
Yeah, it's got to hit it hard now because we have got to get her out of that seat, right?
Well, exactly right, and we got to make the changes that we need to do so we can get all working again.
Now, let me just say, as a disclaimer, I actually really like Claire. She's a very nice person, very personable, very nice. I just disagree with the way she's been voting in line with the Obama administration.
Well, she has, and she's been voting in line with the Obama administration 92% of the time. And we got to get beyond nice people. We got to get to capable people to get the economy working again.
So why do you think that you are going to be able to do a better job?
Well, you know, the real issue here, and obviously we gave this a lot of thought, talked to a lot of people, but, you know, I came to realize that, frankly, too many career politicians with political experience alone just can't seem to restore the American dream. And, you know, the real issue is they don't have any real answers, and they've lost their way because they just don't have any real-world experience to guide them. And so many of my friends and associates and people I've talked to, and now literally thousands of people across the state of Missouri, all understand that we can't continue to vote for the same people over and over again, the same career politicians, and hope for change. So I want to bring to Washington, D.C., 33 years of manufacturing experience and 4 years of Marine Corps infantry experience. Join people like Tom Coburn. He brought the business experience and a medical background. Ron Johnson, 31 years of manufacturing. There's far too few people like that in Washington, D.C., and guys like these people are doing a great job, and they need help.
Yeah, we can't spend our way out of debt. That's the most asinine thing I've ever heard. It just makes me crazy. Let's take away more of your money, spend more, and we'll get out of debt. Well,
exactly right. You know, there's a great column I read in today's paper here, and who deserves credit for the improving economy? And this author hit it right on the head. Where the credit goes is to hard-working, decent citizens who are saving, cutting back, trying to do the best they can, not a government that's continuing to borrow and spend and borrow and spend.
We've had to remain so vigilant, and, I mean, we're watching the unemployment rolls. By the way, I think they need to come up with a new way to determine unemployment, to be honest with you. And it's been very scary. The health care law, we're all just kind of holding our breath to wait and see what we're going to do next year.
Well, this Obamacare program, or I like to call it the Obamacare program, is really like a tsunami about to hit. And I know I've met far too many people they may be employed, hanging on with their jobs, businesses, small farms, but they're barely hanging on by their fingernails. And regulation after regulation is coming their way, and this Obamacare, it would just flatten everybody. So all we need to do is I call it my breakout strategy here. It's just to break the chains of these government regulations so that hard-working Americans, Missourians, can get back to work. You know, when I was running a manufacturing company, I was in the production lines, on the warehouse, loading trucks, driving forklifts, and Americans love to win. You know, we love to add a new piece of equipment. Farmers love to add new acreage, bring in a new piece of farm equipment. But right now, we're in a hunker-down mode because, as you said, this spend and borrow and spend central government that is choking us.
It is. And, I mean, it's the way things have always been done, it appears, at Washington. They don't know any different. But, John, I want to draw attention to the fact that it's not just small business owners. It's not just manufacturers. You know, 10 years ago, I was well on my way to saving for retirement. Things were going great. Everything has increased in the last decade so far beyond what my wages have increased that I no longer have any kind of a cushion to fall back on because I've had to spend it to stay afloat. And that's scary.
Well, that is really true. And folks that are already into retirement, they don't have the options available. I mean, I was just reviewing Claire McCaskill's record that, you know, when she came on, the gas was $1.90. Now it's $3.75. That's up 97%. You know, sugar's up 60%. Ground beef's up 38%, corn up 94%. I mean, this goes on and on and on. And yet I've looked at the wage rate, zero change, zero. So we all have to spend a lot more just to hang on to where we are. Mm-hmm. And most folks are cutting way back.
And
so
if these...
this is, the thing about politicians and these career politicians, they have no idea how to make the pie bigger, how to grow the economy, how to get new jobs and opportunity. They're all looking at what we have to do is cut. And yes, there has to be cuts in this government, but they don't have an idea on how we can grow this economy and how we can grow our jobs. I remember years back when I was working with my dad, and every other year would be a tough year. It seemed like we had 2 tough years, 1 good year, no different than any other small business person. And finally, he'd exclaim, "Well, John, the real answer is through the swinging doors. Let's go get some orders." In other words, how can we grow this business? So the same thing. These politicians don't know how to grow an economy. We got to get the opportunities going, and then we're going to solve the whole issues in terms of our budgets and the cost of goods and all those other issues that are hitting us so hard right now.
Well, spending in the debt is one thing, but when you start saying out of every corner of your fork-tongued mouth, if you're Mr. Obama, just keep raising taxes on the wealthy, that is the dumbest idea. People just don't understand that they are the ones keeping us afloat.
Well, there's also an issue here. So many businesses, they talk raising on the wealthy, but so many businesses, and this is technically called a sub-S corporation, where basically instead of a company being taxed, individuals are being taxed. Mm-hmm. And what you have here is that over 70% of the so-called wealthy are no different than business folks and farmers and who everything is passed through in terms of their particular tax rates. And the real issue is, whose money is this anyway, number one? Who
Bottom line.
Yeah, who owns this? And number two, who can invest it better? And to think that career politicians and bureaucrats can take our money and figure out how to jumpstart an economy, they have no idea. But everyday hard-working folks, we know where to put our money. We know where to invest it. We know where the right decisions are. We're going to be a lot better and a lot more careful about spending our own money than government taking the money in every form whatsoever and letting them spend it through these crazy stimulus programs.
Well, and a lot of people, I've heard the chatter, and I just have a web shout here too. People say, you've never been to Washington, though you may be forced into the same corner because of the way things are done there that you might not be familiar with.
Well, I know that's a challenge that the career politicians are hitting me, and they said, without years and years and years of experience being a politician, you're not going to be effective. But look at Ron Johnson. I mean, he comes right out of a manufacturing company with no political experience, and he's making a big impact. Tom Coburn, other individuals. Rand Paul, he's a medical doctor. He comes into Washington, D.C. The real issue is number one, what experiences are you bringing to Washington? And number two, what's your motivation? I don't need a career. I don't need a job. Far too many of our career politicians, that's all they know, and that's all they want to do. My motivation is to get in there, get the job done, and come home and join other talented individuals. And we're seeing all across this country, not just in the U.S. Senate, but on school boards, county council, road commissioners, all kinds of people who have real experiences, bringing those to the table to get the job done.
Okay, 2 things that if I don't ask you about, my listeners will tar and feather me in the town square.
All right.
Fair tax, where are you?
Well, I've read the whole proposal there, and I think it's very, very intriguing. And I come back, what we need is a fair and flatter tax situation. And the big issue that I see is, how can we possibly completely turn upside down and remove the whole IRS system? But I tell you what's in reach is, instead of the U.S. having the highest tax in the world now as of April 1st, we can roll these taxes back to 20%, and they're become competitive again. That is within our grasp. And then we can continue to pursue and look at this fair tax system and see whether that becomes I would call the next step alternative. But immediately what we need to do is roll back the tax rates.
Well, and many of them are expiring at the end of the year, and this is heart attack situation here. If they do not extend these tax cuts, a lot of people are in trouble.
Well, this is where the politicians just don't get it. Mm-mm. And I'm talking from both sides of the aisle here. I mean, we've had Republicans vote to increase the debt ceiling limit 3, 4, 5 times without any sense of where the revenues are coming from. And you're right. The expiration of these tax credits, the unknowns that are out there, the more regulations that are coming down the road, And then the most incredible issue here, and I think 100 years from now, people are going to look back and say, what was America thinking? What about our energy program? What about digging for oil and shale and natural gas? Just last week, through the support of Claire McCaskill and her embrace of the Environmental Protection Agency, the coal industry has basically been shut down. We cannot build another coal plant in America because of these regulations. And, you know, markets anticipate these issues. If uncertainty is ahead and regulations are ahead and higher taxes are ahead, guess what happens to the economy? It hunkers down and begins to crumble. But if we have a good, solid energy policy where we go after our own energy, where we lower the tax rates and lock them in, and we suspend all of these incessant regulations, wow, America will start to work again, and they will anticipate the opportunities, and you will see energy prices drop, and you will see no job opportunities open up. You will see people hiring again. Again, reading today's paper, these big companies, some of them are doing okay, but you know where they're hiring? Overseas. This is why we got to get rid of the career politicians and get real folks up in Washington, D.C., who really understand how to create jobs and how to create opportunity. 2
minutes left, so I want to have succinct answers if I could, because there's so much I wanted to get to with you, but it's hard to because we only have 15 minutes. But
Sure.
I hope there is an America in 100 years to begin with. But defense spending has been cut ridiculously so. We have military pensions in danger. I am absolutely outraged at the way they are cutting defense and treating our military.
Well, this comes really close to my heart. And as I mentioned, I served 4 years as an infantry platoon commander. I was in the Mediterranean, North Atlantic, East Coast, West Coast. Had a tremendous opportunity to work with some wonderfully talented, dedicated people. And our military and what those folks do and the sacrifices they go through and their families, it is just unbelievable. And yet,
there's no gratitude. There's no gratitude.
There's no perception of that. Again, you have far too many politicians up there who have never been on active duty, who've never served in the military, who don't have this perspective. And yet, for me, of course, I could drill down in terms of some of the tremendous problems our wounded warriors are having with the lack of adequate care being provided to them. And then you're right in terms of the pensions, the health care. These are the people who stepped up and put it all on the line. We need to do everything we can to take care of those who serve. A grateful nation has their priorities right, and that should go to the top of our priority list.
Right. And 30 seconds, quick answer on this one. You are in manufacturing, but much of Missouri is agricultural.
Well, agriculture or manufacturing or small business, they're all the same. They all operate on the same free enterprise principles in terms of opening up the markets, pulling back on the regulations, having a really solid energy policy. And the small farmers and their businesses, they want to grow and expand. Many of these farmers go 3, 4, 5 generations. They have a dream and a hope for an American dream for their kids and their grandkids. We can pull it all together with the right kind of people going to Washington, people that have a real working experience here in the private sector that take those experience to Washington. We need more citizen senators, just like the founders had planned, not career politicians.
Right. His name is John Bruner. He is a candidate from St. Louis, a manufacturer there, running for the Senate seat to unseat Claire McCaskill. Give them the date of the election and the name they should look for.
John Bruner, and check me out on www.johnbruner.com, johnbruner.com, looking for other patriots and hardworking Americans to join in this great cause.
All right, John, good luck to you, sir.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Bye-bye now. John Bruner, that's how he feels about the things you will have effect in your life. You'll see him on the ballot running against Claire McCaskill as a Republican. It's 8:56.